Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you another video. All right, so my reaction to the draft first round. It was a lot of stuff there that was a little strange to me. To be honest with you, some of the picks that I saw, I was like, I like these players, but I don't think we're respecting their value, as we talked about in my video earlier today. I was paying attention to what the Brooklyn Nets did. I'm actually a little higher on what they did than most of the consensus, but at the end, I just thought that. I don't know that they have the opportunity to play all of these people the way that they should be given opportunities. I do understand what Brooklyn was doing. I think they were looking for playmaking. They wanted connective pieces. As we talked about with the Chicago Bulls, I felt like Chicago had been putting a lot of passers on their team, and it makes for great ball movement. It makes for good opportunities. But if they all play the same position, it kind of defeats the purpose in a way to drafting all of these guys. Danny Wolf, Ben Saraf, playmakers, guards. Danny's a center, but he plays like a guard. You need to put the ball in his hands. He can make others better. Ben Saraf, guard, big guard, but not very athletic. He can make plays for others. Nolan Traore, a little guy, also makes plays for others, rather fast and quick. Igor Dimin, best passer in the draft, guard. It's just they overdid it with the assist category, because 3 out of the 4 players are guard. And then with the 22nd pick, my Laker pick, they took my favorite player in the draft, Drake Powell. So the Lakers, my team, even though the pick's been passed around like a blunt, at the end of the day, the Laker pick took my favorite player in the entire draft. So all things considered, I like what the Brooklyn Nets did. I thought it was a little forced, what they did with their last 2 picks. A little forced. Ben Saraf, Israel. Danny Wolf, Israel. Brooklyn. Take it for what it's worth. I just thought it was a little political-ish-y, but it stayed true to what they had been doing. The pick that I really didn't like from Brooklyn, just zeroing in on Brooklyn, if I'm being real, was a Nolan Traore. I didn't like Nolan Traore at 19. Other than that, I was a fan of the Igor Dimin pick. I thought that was a good way to start the draft for them, even though there was a little bit of reach for him. I kind of had him in that range anyway. I had him going 8 to 12, kind of the same range for me. I wasn't too upset at Brooklyn for doing that. Of course, the Danny Wolf and Saraf picks overall, based on what it is they bring to the table, I think can be good pieces for making other players better and making plays off one another. I like that, but Nolan Traore just doesn't fit. How many players do you need to play the point guard, really? Igor Dimin, Ben Saraf, that should be enough. Danny Wolf at the center position, all making plays, that's cool. Nolan Traore, I don't know where that actually fits, if I'm being real. I thought Brooklyn could have went in a different direction, especially with Kasparis Yakushonis on the board. I just never have him higher than Traore, although I've seen people like Traore a lot. I just felt like that was where I would have taken Kasparis, who is also a passer, but more of a scorer than all the other people that they drafted. So overall, I'm higher on what Brooklyn did. People are trashing Brooklyn bad for these picks. I think they kind of corny when you consider the whole thing with how they did it at the end. But overall, I like the idea of making plays for others. Getting guys who are going to pass the rock to one another, make each other better, and make other players better as well. Not too many scorers in this situation. Not too much shooting, which I know is going to piss a lot of people off. The only player in this situation that can actually shoot the ball out of 5 first-round draft picks is Drake Powell. He's the only one who can shoot. The rest of them cannot shoot. They're not really particularly athletic. Brooklyn fans are not going to be happy. But once they get some of these players in place, the style of play that they're going to run, it's going to be fun. Because it's a lot of players who are cerebral, great floor vision, passers who are going to be passing the ball to each other. It's going to be a fun style of play. But it's going to be tricky trying to get all these damn guards involved. If I'm them, honestly, I'm trading Nolan Traore right now. I'm not keeping him. There's no reason to have him coming off the bench. He's one of the most sought-after players in this first round, but polarizing just the same. He's a real good pace keeper, but you already have a million guards at this point. You drafted all the guards you need. Igor Dimin, and Ben Saraf for me would be the guys that I would keep at the guard spot from this draft. Danny Wolf, of course, I'm keeping. Drake Powell, I'm keeping. But I don't have a place for Nolan Troyer. I shouldn't have drafted. You should not have drafted him. Not. You should have left him on the board and taken a different position, in my opinion. Maybe a Nick Clifford, or maybe some of the guys that maybe got to slip to the second round. There's a couple guys in that second round that make the second round really, really interesting because of all the reaches. So yeah, I wanted to start with Brooklyn because we made a whole video on Brooklyn. Let's see what else, man. Cooper Flagg, of course, went first. Very happy to see that. He's going to be fantastic. Dallas, the Luka trade is complete. That's what that was. More of the same from the NBA, rigging drafts. No surprise there. Dylan Harper went too. Happy to see that. Good to see Ron Harper. I hadn't seen him in years. His son is going to be fantastic at San Antonio, and as I said many times about the San Antonio Spurs, I would be moving on from a guard, but Dylan Harper would not be who I'd move on from. It would be De'Aaron Fox. That's who I'm moving. I'm moving De'Aaron Fox in contract as soon as it makes sense to do so. If I'm the Spurs, I'm not keeping him there. VJ Edgecombe ended up going third to 76ers. I like VJ Edgecombe as a player. I like VJ Edgecombe as a Sixer. What I didn't like is the idea that the Sixers have brought another player under 6'6" into their starting lineup. I just think they're lacking in size. But he plays bigger than he is. He's an extremely explosive player, can help you on both sides of the floor. I think the 76ers overall are going to have to shake some things up to make their roster make sense. But they did take a very good player at 3. Con Knipple going to the Hornets, I just felt like they went with the next player they had highest on their draft board is what I took. They probably were hoping that VJ was going to be available. They probably thought Philadelphia would take Ace. But Philly did pass on Ace. So I just felt like Ace Bailey didn't fit in Charlotte. So I just felt like the Hornets just went with who they had next on the board. Which, to be honest with you, I didn't disagree necessarily. If VJ's gone and Ace is trying to tank his stock, did I want Con or Trey? For me, I was more of a Con guy. They were kind of neck and neck for me. I'm not a big Trey Johnson fan, as you guys know, but I still value him enough to have kept him in that range anyway. So I felt like the Hornets probably did what I would have done. Maybe I would have taken Malawach. Yeah, maybe I probably would have taken Malawach. Because they ended up trading Mark Williams away to the Suns, who ended up drafting Malawach. So Malawach and Mark Williams are comparable to one another at 7'2" with a ridiculous wingspan. Yeah, they're both Phoenix Suns. Both of them. I'll have an opinion about that a little later. I don't think Phoenix thought that Common Malawach was going to be available. So they made that traded away a future first-round pick when they don't even have first-round picks. They traded away one of the last picks they could possibly trade from 28. And tonight's pick to get a center, and then found that the center that was just like that center was available in the draft to them at 10. Trade had already been finalized. Now they got them both. So that was a little weird. I think if you're Phoenix, you're happy, but if you're either one of those centers, you hate this crap. You can't believe this just happened. So that's what I say there. But I think Phoenix gave themselves plenty of rim protection, plenty of size, and I think the Phoenix Suns suddenly have stumbled into something spectacular with both of those guys. I really do. I think they stumbled into something spectacular. Because they're great trade pieces, and they're both 7'2". One of them plays nothing but offense. The other plays nothing but defense. I think they're going to be a lot of fun with those two centers alone. What happens with all them damn guards they got and all that other crap? Goofy stuff. Trade all of it. I would love to have both of those centers right now if I'm Phoenix, though. They stumbled into it. Don't love how they acquired Mark Williams by any stretch of the imagination, but now that they have him and Malawach, that's 14 feet of talent at the center position. That's not a bad thing if you're Phoenix. Not at all. What else went on? Ace Bailey ended up with the Utah Jazz. I actually like that. I know Ace didn't like that. And I don't know that the fit really fits, but the Utah Jazz are such a pick-rich team. They have such a strong GM situation to where if you're Ace Bailey, as a kid, you don't know no better. You don't want to go no damn Utah. You want to be around, black people, more or less. So that's kind of what I was thinking he was frustrated about. He did not want to go to Utah. But when you look at the teams that are most healthy in this league, Utah Jazz are one of the healthiest teams in this league. I would sit Ace down and tell him, yo, based on situations and leverage, the prospect of you playing with some of the best players in the world over the next 7 years is better here than any of them other places you want to go. Utah is a better organization. They're a better run organization than any of those teams you want to go to. Brooklyn, Washington, Pelicans, those were the places you wanted to go. Utah is 10 times better organization than any of those organizations based on what they have, based on who's running things. So that's what I would tell them. You are in a better position. Don't trick yourself out of this position, because you landing in Utah is fantastic for a young player. And not only that, but they don't have a star higher quality than you of their young core. You're the man there. So don't screw that up. Do not screw that up, Ace Bailey. That's what I would tell him. You landed in the best spot as it pertains to franchise health in the entire range. Better than Dallas, better than San Antonio is fantastic. That's a whole other story. Better than 76ers, better than the Hornets, better than Washington, better than Toronto, better than Brooklyn, better than Phoenix. That is the best organization to go to for assessing what they have and what they can do with it. So Ace Bailey's in a great spot. He better know it. Trey Johnson went to the Washington Wizards. That made sense to me based on who best player available. I needed them to get some athleticism. They weren't able to address that tonight. I think they're going to regret it. They got a lot of layup merchants. They just continue to reiterate that with Trey Johnson's pick, and furthermore Walter Clayton's pick. Layup merchants. They're going to find out that they have no athleticism on their team. They got a lot of talented players who can do a lot of things, but none of them can get off the ground. And because of it, they're capping themselves off at a certain level. So the vision is not great for Washington. They picked up a lot of players that can shoot a jumper. And when you have it in your mind that you want a bunch of people that can shoot a jumper, you're going to have that. Problem is, athletic teams are going to run them out of the gym. That's what's going to happen. Washington's going to get run out of the damn gym. You overvalued shot making and undervalued athleticism. And they're going to pay for it. Bunch of layup merchants in Washington. Jeremiah Fears went to the Pelicans. I hated that only because of roster construction, but if they clear everything out, this is a great spot for Jeremiah Fears. So, and now that they picked up Derek Queen as well with a pick that they traded with the Atlanta Hawks, I think they actually did great in this draft when you consider the high level of those talented players. You talk about Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen going to the same team. You feel great about the Pelicans going forward. It's probably time to start moving some stuff out. They must move on from Murray. DeJounte Murray got to go. And if they move DeJounte Murray, I love what Jeremiah Fears' situation looks like. But as long as he's there, he's in the way of Jeremiah getting the ball. Jeremiah probably ain't ready yet anyway, so it's probably not the worst thing in the world. But overall, I think the Pelicans did great tonight overall. Didn't like the Jeremiah Fears pick at the time. But when you zoom out and find out they got Derek Queen after that, it's like, okay, yeah, I like pairing them two together in one night. That's a good thing. Colin Murray Bowles went to the Toronto Raptors, and they left Khaman Maluach on the board. That was weird. I like Colin Murray Bowles. He's a glorified Draymond Green. I like him a lot. I really do. But if I'm Toronto, I have an idea that I take African players that are, it's just what they do. And I felt like they overthought it. It was almost like, okay, people expect us to take this player. We kind of always do take this player. Let's just not. And I think they screwed up because they really need the rim protection. Jakob Poeltl is nice, but he ain't that damn nice. And he always hurt. And you don't have a backup center. And you left Khaman Maluach on the board as the Toronto Raptors, who always draft African players. Yeah, that's a mistake. That should have never happened. You got to stay true to who you are. I like Colin Murray Bowles, but he's a little too much like Scotty Barnes. He's a Scotty Barnes that can't shoot. So I like the idea of having them forwards that can defend and pass around, but you kind of already got that in Scotty. From a roster perspective, I got to see what else they do, but there's no way in hell I'm leaving Khaman Maluach on the board if I'm the Toronto Raptors. I'm not doing it. Portland got Cedric Coward and then traded him to Memphis. I would have loved for them to just hold on to that pick because Cedric Coward is what they need. They need some shooting. And then they proceeded to do something else that I didn't understand. But they traded him to Memphis. And I think that's great for Memphis because that's exactly where I had Cedric Coward mocked in my mock draft. I had him going 16 to Memphis. They traded up and picked him at 11. So I think the fit is perfect. And I think he's going to be a part of whatever they're doing going forward. So Cedric Coward, that's a great pick at 11 from Memphis. Noah Singay went to Chicago. High upswing pick. I'm not too upset at it, but I don't think it's going to make a whole lot of noise in Chicago, that player. I see him disappearing in Chicago. I don't know, man. I think they needed a different type of piece, but maybe I'm wrong. I was higher on Noah than most. In fact, I had him going 5th to Utah, but the way the actual board shook up tonight, there was obviously you're going to take Ace Bailey if you're Utah. But Noah Singay in Chicago is just, I don't think they needed what he does, and I don't know that he has enough oomph to stand out in Chicago. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? He could be Scottie Pippen for all I know. And he does have that type of upside, maybe even more than what Scottie had on draft night, given the fact that Scottie was like a no-name guy at the time. But Noah for Chicago, I just don't know. I don't know. Defensively nice, can definitely drive at the rim. But for some reason, I just see him disappearing in Chicago. I don't know why. I just don't see the vision as of yet. I like him in other situations. Derek Queen, like I said, went to New Orleans. That was good. Carter Bryant went to the Spurs. I love that. I love that pick. That was great for the Spurs. Made a whole lot of sense. The Spurs did excellent tonight as well. Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant. For me, that's a home run for the Spurs. The rich get richer. That looks great. Thomas Sorber, as my mock said, went 15 to the OKC Thunder. I was not surprised by that at all. It made a lot of sense. Sound decision from a fantastic championship organization. Sound decision. Exactly what I would have did. And then came the Portland Trailblazers with the 16th overall pick that they traded with Memphis. They took Hansen Young. I like Hansen Young. Y'all know that. I talked about Hansen Young. But he's a second-round talent. They took him at 16. Now, mind you, Portland already has 4 centers. 4. And they made it a 5 with this guy. And mind you, we talk about Portland and how they don't have any shooting. And they took Hansen Young, a center that doesn't shoot. It's just an awful pick, man. I know they had been, from what I understand, they were scouting this guy for 2 years. They really like him. I really like him. But I literally have 4 centers. I can like a guy all I want, but I got a logjam. He's never going to play. And you're going to take him, the 16th overall pick in the first round, not address any of your shooting needs. I mean, it's just like literally one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my entire life. Honestly. One of the worst picks I've ever seen in my life. Because you used the 16th overall pick on a guy that you have 4 other people to play his position. One of them on a ridiculous contract that nobody wants. The other one was Donovan Clingan, who was literally one of the best picks in last year's draft. Clearly your future center. What are you doing? That was one of the worst picks I've ever seen in my entire life, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, like really, it was one of the worst picks I've ever seen. And Hansen Young, like I said, I think he's going to be a nice center. I would love to have him on my Laker team. But, like, what the hell am I doing taking him in the middle of the draft, right after the lottery, passing up on so much talent that I could utilize if I'm Portland? After I done made a trade for a guy who's, like, on the worst contract, 35 years of age. From what I understand, he's pissed about being there. And this is what I'm doing with the lottery pick. I'm talking about Drew Holiday. From what I understand, he's livid about being in Portland. He don't want to be there. And a day after I do that stupid crap, I'm doing this with my lottery pick, with my first round pick. And it's insult to injury that they traded away literally what I felt they needed in this draft, which was a wing that could play some defense that could actually shoot a 3. Insult to injury that they traded away the perfect piece to reach for a guy that they already have. They have no room to play. They're not going to play Hansen Young for at least 3 years. And even when they do, he's a glorified backup because he's not playing in front of Donovan Clingan. And I don't think they can move. Like I said, I have no belief that they're going to be able to move DeAndre Ayton. Nobody wants that contract. No, you got to pay me to take that from you. If I got any damn sense in this league, which a lot of these GMs definitely do not, based on what we've seen tonight. This is a stupid league. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, man. There was a lot of stupidity you saw tonight in this draft. Like real, like, wow, bro. Like, stupidity. Just sheer, utter stupidity. And nothing beat Portland tonight with the Hanson Young draft pick at 16. Nothing was dumber than that. Nothing at all. Joanne Behringer went to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I thought that was pretty good. You know, you got a situation where you're bringing the French center to Rudy Gobert, so he's got like a mentor there that can help him and somebody who can be a successor if you decide to move Rudy. So I like that decision for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They didn't need a whole lot. Maybe they could use a point guard, but they also picked up a point guard last year in the draft. Maybe you don't need that. You got a bunch of wings. You didn't make trades, so you still have the same talent you had last year. The only thing you could really use is a backup center in theory. And so I thought they addressed that. Joanne is a nice player with a lot of length, more rim protection. I thought it was a good pick. Maybe a little high for a lot of people with Joanne, but I was going to take him at 18. So 17, not too much different than what I had in my mock. 19, Nolan Traore. We talked about that pick. I hated that pick. I thought it was awful. Jaspers Jakushonis fell all the way to 20. Home run by the Miami Heat. You got to take him, bro. You got to take him. I know they had their eye on other players, but when a guy who's supposed to go in the lottery drops all the way to 20 to you, and you could use a guard, that's a home run. It's a home run for the Miami Heat. They came up tonight. Will Riley for the Utah Jazz. I didn't love that pick. I don't think Will Riley's ready, so I think that's a good place for him to go. And maybe Will Riley turns into something, slapping him next to all the young players that they have, Ace Bailey included. In a nutshell, you're happy to have Will Riley if you're Utah. But I thought there was better stuff on the board for the Utah Jazz, higher quality talent on the board. But if you're Utah, then again, it's like we probably don't have this position to play these guys. Well, wait, no, let me get that. Let me take that back. Will Riley's actually going to the Washington Wizards. I forgot they did trade that pick, so it makes sense, even more sense. He's going to Washington. But for Washington, I thought that there was other stuff that they probably could have used more so than another player that didn't really have athleticism. Will Riley's a nice jump shooter, just like the rest of Washington stuff, but I don't really know if that's what they needed. There's more explosive athletes on this board, like Asa Newell and Abdul Thero, who's going to fall in the second round, which is crazy to me, that I felt probably would have been a little better for Washington to give them a little more of what they don't have. They have a bunch of guards at this point. Will Riley's not ready, though, so that's another situation where he's going to have opportunity to just play behind people and develop slowly. So I guess it's a good situation for real. I don't know if I love the situation for Washington, though. They need explosiveness, and there's some on the draft board that they didn't take. Drake Powell to Atlanta, traded to Brooklyn again. That was the only pick from Brooklyn that I think most people will be very pleased with. I think some people are really pleased with Danny Wolf, though, and rightfully so. He's a center. Give him a little different look as a center. I thought that was a pretty good pick, too. Asa Newell went to Atlanta. I don't know what their depth chart looks like right now with the forward spot, but I really like Asa Newell, and at 23, that's fantastic value. So you got to give Atlanta credit for taking Asa Newell. I know you just got Porzingis yesterday. I still am very happy with Asa Newell if I'm Atlanta. Very happy with him, especially since Porzingis ain't staying healthy anyway. That kid's gonna get some minutes. So I like that. I like that pick for them. One of my favorite picks of the night tonight, Nick Clifford, Sacramento Kings, traded into the first round with the OKC Thunder, of whom I thought made sound sense, made all the sense in the world. I don't know exactly what that trade looked like, but somehow the Sacramento Kings probably traded a future pick for Nick Clifford in order to put Nick Clifford on their squad. And I thought it was great, man. I thought it was a great decision. I was one of my favorite picks of the draft. Sacramento Kings were not in this first round, barely in this draft at all. And they traded up to get a guy who can help them right now, a two-way forward guard combination, good length, good size, good talent, not too many holes in his game. Just a really nice piece. The reason why he fell was because he's a little older. And so I thought Sac really came up. I thought that was one of the best picks of the night. Trading into this draft and just snatching Nick Clifford was super solid, in my opinion. Great decision by Sacramento, I think. And a good decision for the Golden State Warriors. I don't know why I keep saying Golden State. Oklahoma City Thunder champion team. Because they really didn't have the role for Nick at this point. They didn't have a role for any more young players. I think in the long run they might have been happy if they kept him, but I think for him it's much better to go to SAC, where there'll be more opportunities for him in theory. So yeah, great choice for Sacramento to trade into this draft and grabbing Nick Clifford, depending on what they traded to get him. But overall, the decision was sound. Washington. Yeah, this is the Magic. The Magic took Chase Richardson. I thought that was good, especially at 25. That's good value. All these different things that people were doing, reaching and stuff like that for various different people. And Chase Richardson fell straight to the Magic and gave them a scoring punch that they could really use. Now I'm starting to respect what they have offensively a bit more, because you pick up Chase Richardson. Obviously, you pick up Desmond Bane. You still got Jet Howard in the ring. You're starting to pick up a lot of people's kids, by the way. Jet Howard, Juwan's son, Chase Richardson, Jason Richardson's son. So, they got some guys that come from good stock, and I think they're starting to pile on some offensive talent, which is what is necessary in Orlando. So, I really like Jace Richardson there. You see some shooting coming into form. You see some scoring coming into form, and Jace Richardson is going to provide a great deal of what. What's the young fella that they traded away? I can't think of his name right now, but they traded him to Memphis in the Desmond Bane, Cole Anthony. He's going to give them some of that Cole Anthony energy, that fiery energy that Cole brought to the Orlando Magic. Trading him away, I thought, made that a bit absent on their roster. I think Jace brings some of that. So they traded Cole Anthony, who's Greg Anthony's son. They drafted Jace Richardson. Oh, they got everybody's son. That's what they like to do there. Straight up and down. That's what they like to do. And then, of course, Brooklyn took care of Ben Saraf and Danny Wolf, making sure that they went in the first round. And Hugo Gonzalez went to the Celtics. It's too much on the board that I like. I like Nia McNeely for the Celtics since they're a three-point shooting team. He was still on the board. They let him fall and took Hugo. I didn't like the decision. I didn't like it. Hugo's nice, but I could get him in the second round. It's just better talent on the board, if I'm being honest with you. It's just better talent on the board. I didn't like that from Boston at all. I didn't like it. Liam McNeely, drafted by the Suns, traded to Charlotte. Liam McNeely brings some more shooting to the Charlotte Hornets. I think the Charlotte Hornets are going to find that they need a center now, man. They traded away Miller. What's his name? Mark Williams, that's who it was. They traded away Mark Williams. They passed on Kamen Malawach. He goes to Phoenix as well. They traded Richardson, what's his name? Nick Richards to the Phoenix Suns. They keep trading all the stuff that they need at the center position. They keep sending to the Suns in one way or another. And now they don't have any centers, but the guy they got from the Suns last year, who's an older dude. They went from having like an opportunity at 3 centers to now only having 1, and they keep taking guards. Liam McNeely and Con Knipple. Clearly they're trying to go in a specific direction. I like that direction, but Charlotte doesn't have any rim protection now. So I thought they had some needs that they didn't address, and I guess they could shoot threes now. I mean, they really wanted Dalton Connect from us. Clearly they're going in a direction in Charlotte. But, like, what's the vision there, man? You just gonna shoot threes all day? Like, is that the vision? You're not doing nothing. I don't like the vision in Charlotte. I wish Con Knipple would have went to a more stable franchise, to be honest with you. Liam McNeely's a nice shooting guard role player. I think he's going to shoot well. But they got to make some damn sense of this roster at this point. Does the roster? They clearly want to go in a different direction, and they have a lot carrying over from the roster, and it's just two different visions on the team, and it doesn't make any sense. It's almost like Phoenix, like their favorite trade partner, Phoenix. Stuff doesn't quite make any sense right now, but if they shake it up, it could soon. And the last pick, the Clippers took Yannick Conan Niederhauser, which is a nice second-round level center who showed some real athleticism and pop. I think they needed a backup center. I don't know if I take him above some of the other opportunities that may have been available to them, but you get a legitimate 7-foot center that can catch a lob, block a shot, play with a lot of energy. I thought it was a good player to have. I don't know if I take him that early, but it's a very good player to have. So tomorrow we're looking at the second round coming up. From a strategy perspective, I think this helps teams. First pick is going to be Minnesota. Second pick is the Celtics. Third pick is the Hornets. Fourth pick is also the Hornets, but I think some of these picks have been traded since. Don't quote me on that. Last year we had like most of the second round traded during the draft, so I can imagine that most of this stuff could potentially be on the move as well. But for now, it looks like the Hornets have some early picks. Maybe they can address their center position there early in the second round and make all this make a lot more sense. Philadelphia has an early pick. Brooklyn has another pick. Detroit's getting involved. San Antonio, Toronto, Washington, Golden State finally drafts. Sacramento, Utah, champs, OKC, etc. So that's kind of how it looks. My Lakers got the 55th pick. I wonder if we're going to move that along. I don't think we're going to get anything really exciting there. I doubt it. The draft should dry up by then. So yeah, man, this was a lackluster first round because I thought teams were really illogical with their choices. But I think a lot of people draft players that they love rather than drafting for fit. So when you're considering fit, this doesn't make any sense. And you got different teams doing different things in that regard. So that's kind of what this is the vision of. I think there are a lot of people who legitimately think they should not draft for fit. They think it's like a no-no to draft for fit. And if that is your logic, then my logic ain't going to align with what it is you see there. So that's what I have to kind of psych myself into, which I think there's a balance to. Sometimes you don't want to draft for fit because you'll mess around and pass up on a Michael Jordan going after a power forward or something like that. You know what I mean? So there is some sense to be made against what it is that I think is sense. You just have to make good decisions thereafter so that what you have can create an opportunity for the player that you think is Michael Jordan to actually play. And I don't know that these teams are going to do that. Time will tell if that's what they actually do. But I'd see this being a bad draft based on a lot of these situations not being great for the players. You can have a fantastic prospect, but you send him to the wrong spot, and he's just not going to be able to show you who he is. He's not going to be able to do anything, and he ends up being a role player and ends up getting, his career goes down the toilet and ends up somewhere in Europe or something like that. And that's what I think is going to happen with a lot of this draft because they got drafted to the wrong spots. I really believe that. This was a much better draft than the field chose it to be, if that makes any sense. And a lot of that has to do with teams that don't need picks having picks. So they just do stuff. And bad teams finding ways to continue to reiterate that they are no good. So that's what it is, man. That's exactly what I see here. I would love for the NBA to some magical way, just reset the entire draft process to where everyone has a pick. One pick in the first round. There's 30 players that are being drafted. There are 30 teams. Each team should have one pick. Because all these traded picks over the last 10 years have given us these goofy drafts like tonight. Where a team like Brooklyn has 5 picks and they want to make a political statement with their picks. You know what I mean? Like literally. It's just why the league is not as good as it needs to be. BDO 44. I thank you all for watching.